Autumn Leaves by Catherine Francis. When deciding on a genre for my arrangement of Autumn Leaves, I chose jazz. I decided I wanted my arrangement to be a cappella with jazz elements. I researched jazz characteristics and then incorporated some into my arrangement. A characteristic prominent within jazz music is improvisation. As a vocalist, I looked into the vocal improvisation, known as scatting. I applied this into my arrangement. I did this by having a 16-bar solo in the middle of my arrangement, where each singer of my piece would have 4 bars each to scat over. Having a solo section is another prominent feature of jazz music. I therefore felt that I had to create an interest in solo. I felt this would be a great way to be keeping with the style of jazz, and I also felt that this worked as it was a great way of displaying each of my vocalists. I wanted my singers to each have a chance to have a solo so they could have their own time. I also decided to do this as each of my vocalists all have very different voices. This then enabled me to show off how different sounding vocalists were able to create a fantastic vocal blend when put in harmony together. In jazz, the style of singing usually imitates the instruments, making the vocal sound like an instrument almost. I decided to take this into consideration when writing my piece. I left the lead line very similar to the original melody, however I added some different rhythms which I felt an instrument would use. This mixed it up a bit and created the jazz feel. Also, as mentioned before, improvisation is a prominent feature within jazz, and by adding different rhythms and changing the melody, I felt that this made the sound feel slightly more improvised rather than sticking to the original melody. Another characteristic I discovered was the use of very clashing closing harmonies. I researched which chords are used within jazz music to create these harmonies and then incorporated them when writing mine. This proved successful, as when put into practice I could hear those clashing close harmonies that you hear in jazz music. This gave the piece that overall jazz feel. Another characteristic I used in my piece is the swing feel. I wanted my vocalist not to feel restricted to certain timing and feel the music like you would in jazz. As the lead vocalist, I led the piece by clicking in a swing style, and this not only kept everyone in time for when we had to sing together, but created that swing feel that I had hoped of achieving. I felt that by adding these characteristics into my piece, it really created the jazz sound that I set out to achieve and successfully paid off. For my arrangement, I decided to use just vocalists. I did this to place emphasis on the vocals and the harmonization. I feel that if I had added another instrument into the piece, it may take the attention away from the harmonies, and because I had written such close clashing harmonies, I wanted the listener to be completely focused on the sound of the harmonies to be able to hear them clearly. When taking into consideration the timbre of my vocalist, I decided that due to the melody line being rather high, I wanted to create bottom-heavy sounding harmonies mainly, and then occasionally having my soprano sing some high harmonies. This not only created a variety which is pleasing for the listener, this created a progression for my piece. I decided I wanted my vocalist to sing with rich, warm and strong vocal colours, not only to display the close harmonies in the best way possible, but to create the emotion of the lyrics within the song. Also, by creating a warm, rich and strong sound, it would be very pleasing to the ear for an audience, and I feel that the listener would gain an emotional connection with the lyrics and the vocalist. Each of my vocalists have very different voices, some soft and some powerful. However, from rehearsals, we were all able to apply the warm, rich, strong colours to create the perfect balance, which then created the correct blend which was needed for the piece. I felt that we all worked very well with listening to each other in order to create the perfect blend. We all also decided that in rehearsals we could use a very clear vocal timbre so that the different but clashing close harmonies were able to be heard. I was overall very happy with the vocal timbre of my arrangement of Autumn Leaves. When considering my tempo, as I mentioned before, swing feel is a very prominent characteristic you hear when listening to jazz music. I therefore incorporated that into my piece. This then, as mentioned before, allowed my vocalist not to feel time restricted and to have a bit more fun with it. I decided to keep quite a steady swing feel as I wanted the harmonies to be established properly and to be appreciated more when listened to. Also, to not take the emotion away from the lyrics, as I feel if it was a high tempo, the vocalist wouldn't be able to convincingly convey the emotion behind the lyrics as they would have done at a steady pace. I decided that my lead vocalist would click in a swing style throughout the piece. I did this to keep the vocalist in time so that they would have confident entries into their parts and also to keep the style of jazz within my piece. For my arrangement of Autumn Leaves, I decided to incorporate some quaver rhythms. This worked well as it made the harmony sound more interesting and appealing to the ear as change happened in the piece. It also showed off my vocalist's ability to rhythmically move quickly in harmony. I also used crotchets, minims and semi-braves and dotted crotchets in my piece to create the harmonies that I wanted, and also so that the harmonies worked well with the melody line, and also to change things up at different stages of the piece. I also incorporated staccato on some notes in my piece. This created an intense feel. By adding different rhythms in my piece, it made the piece very appealing, as it was creating something new and different and exciting for the audience, and it also kept them entertained throughout the whole piece. I also feel that this made my piece very creative and different. For my arrangement of Autumn Leaves, I decided that I didn't want my piece to be too cluttered with harmonies, so I therefore created spacious harmonies. I did this to keep my arrangement interesting, as when the harmonies are spread out, the listener would be left in suspense, wondering when they were going to be next present. It also created a great lift for the piece. I also feel that there were certain areas of the song which needed more harmonies and certain areas of the song which didn't. For example, in the verses, I felt that spacious harmonies were better suited to establish the piece and gently introduce the harmonies. And then, for my chorus section, I feel that it needed that lift, and therefore I added more harmonies in, to not only give the piece a lift and different feel, but to mark the beginning of a new section. This would be pleasing to the ear and interesting for a listener. When creating my harmonies, as I mentioned before, I found out by research that clash and close harmonies are prominent within jazz music. So therefore, to stay within the style that I had chosen, I wanted to create this for my arrangement. I based my harmonies on chords which really created the close clash and harmony sound, and this proved successful as it really sounded like jazz when put into practice. I incorporated some well-known harmonies, such as harmonies stacked in thirds, as these create great vocal blend and are pleasing to the ear. When considering the movement of my harmonies, I decided to move them into different sounding chords to create suspense within my piece, which then created that jazz sound. I did this to make my arrangement more creative and interesting, rather than simply using the harmonies which you hear in everyday popular music. Autumn Leaves by Catherine Francis. In my arrangement of Autumn Leaves, the structure differentiates to the original song. I kept the original structure for the beginning, for example, verse, second verse, chorus. I then, however, added in a 16-bar improvisational solo section into my piece, which is different to the original. I then decided to repeat my chorus and then repeat the last 9 bars of the chorus again to create a dramatic ending for the listener. My chorus melody line is the same throughout my arrangement, apart from the repeat of the last 9 bars of the chorus, as I wanted to change that to create a big finale ending. My arrangement consisted of 75 bars, and the overall structure of my piece was verse, verse 2, chorus, solo, chorus, last 9 bars of chorus repeated. My arrangement of Autumn Leaves has a rather thick texture. I created this by the use of vocal timbres by my vocalists. They sing rich, strong, and warm vocal timbres, which creates that thick tone and sound. During some parts of my arrangement, my lead vocalist is singing alone, and as mentioned before, I decided to do this so that when the harmonies came in, they created more of an impact and excitement for the listener, as I feel if they had been there from the beginning of the song, there wouldn't be room for progression in my piece. Also, it creates an entertainment and interest for the listener as they are waiting in suspense for the next time the harmony is going to come in. I also feel that the change in dynamics helps the texture of my arrangement. The change in the dynamics creates different atmospheres throughout the arrangement and exposes the listener to something new. I chose to arrange my song in the same key as the original, which is G major. I felt that the key was very nice and that the harmonies would blend lovely within that key. I also felt that the key was very comfortable to sing in as the lead vocalist, and it worked perfectly with how I wanted to arrange my harmonies. I feel the lyrics of the song contradict the key as they are very emotional and are about loss and don't have a major happy feel to them. However, I felt that I overcome this by creating low-end clashing close harmonies with a rich sound, which created that intense and emotional atmosphere. I decided not to modulate within my arrangement as I felt that it would prove too difficult to change to a different key correctly and confidently without any instrumentation supporting this. When considering dynamics in my arrangement, I wanted my vocalist to be moderately loud in the verses of the song. I did this to create a laid-back, warm feel to gently bring the listener into the piece. I didn't want my dynamics to not have room to develop, so I therefore decided that I wanted my vocalist to start moderately loud. Within the verses, I added crescendos to create different lifts in harmony to keep the listener entertained and to make it very pleasing to the ear. When my song reaches the chorus, I wanted to show progression of my arrangement, and therefore wanted my vocalist to sing forte, loud. By using a change in dynamic, it would not only create a lift in my piece, but it would allow the listener to be aware that it was a different section of the piece. When considering my solo section, I decided I would leave it up to the individual vocalist to choose how loud or quiet they wanted to be. It was their time to be themselves and show off their unique sound, so I wanted them to be able to completely be individual, dynamically speaking. For the rest of my piece, my chorus is the same dynamically as before, and then my ending, I wanted to bring it back down to moderately loud. I felt that this was a great way to bring my piece to an end. It created the atmosphere that the piece was coming to an end. For the final bar of the song, all voices changed dynamically to forte to create a big ending and crescendo and harmony. I felt that this was the perfect dramatic ending I wanted to create, and I felt the change in dynamics helped me successfully create this. Autumn Leaves by Catherine Francis. I feel that the rehearsal process of my arrangement went very well. I organised many rehearsals so that everyone was comfortable and confident with their parts. I was very open to hearing what people thought of my arrangement and listening if people felt they wanted to change some of their parts, but thankfully everybody was very happy with their parts and were able to confidently sing them at ease. One thing out of my whole arrangement I changed after putting my work into practice. This was a soprano note. I decided it sounded too high. When I changed this, the harmony sounded more fitting and blending perfectly with everybody else's harmonies and created an overall warmer sound. I feel the rehearsal process worked very well, as after putting it into practice and creating the perfect vocal blend for the sound that I wanted, I was able to then add my dynamics in to suit my vocalist voices. After my rehearsal process, I realised that I'd been very fair and understanding when writing my harmonies, as although I was writing close harmonies, my vocalists comfortably could perform their individual parts. To ensure that they were 100% confident and familiar with their parts when coming into rehearsals, I recorded the individual harmonies and sent them out to each vocalist for them to look over at home. This saved a lot of time, as when it came to rehearsals it meant just running over the arrangement and brushing up on areas which needed more work than others, and allowed us more time to create the vocal blend and perfecting the dynamic changes within my piece. When putting my piece into practice, we were faced with some difficulties, not many, but some. This was simply the timing of singing the quaver rhythms in time. After working on that section for some time, we perfected it. I feel that because I allowed myself enough rehearsal time, we were able to overcome this issue easily. A weakness of my rehearsal process would be that I wish we had spent a whole rehearsal on the performance element of my arrangement. I feel this would have benefited us and we would have felt more confident in doing so. We only spent around half an hour looking at performing it, and I feel that we could have looked more at it as we let the nerves get the better of us on the day and didn't perform as well as we could have done. Instead of keeping on looking over and over the harmonies, we could have spent more time on performing, and this is something I will take into consideration in future. I feel I picked very reliable and talented people to sing with, whose voices mix beautifully together. Considering our voices are all very different, the blend was so perfect and we all really listened to each other to create that blend. Everyone turned up to rehearsals on time and with great attitudes, and this made the overall rehearsal process very easy and enjoyable. We were all very professional and understanding of each other and were brilliant as a team. I felt that I had a good MDing process when rehearsing my arrangement and organising my arrangement, and I feel that this paid off. Again, my vocalists were a credit to work with, and I feel that this showed in our performance of Autumn Leaves. I am very proud of my arrangement of Autumn Leaves. It was exactly how I wanted it to sound.